Alright, welcome guys. So these are going to be the 3 best team comps. You'll get a general idea of 3 team comps to play straight off the bat and have a lot of success. I'll link these teams below so you can click on the link to the team builder, because I'm not going to bore you with going over how to build the teams. Just as a general rule with most of these teams, a lot of the augments we're going to take is these on start of battle. You're either going to gain, your whole team's going to gain max HP or max energy. So we can spam those 3 there. We can spam the start with extra energy one. The other more individual augments we're going to take with most of these teams is either gain max health or a heap of physical and energy resistance. This is just going to be for our tank or main carry. So hopefully that simplifies it for you. Team augments and some tanky individual stats. Okay, so the first team is going to be water, and there's lots of different ways you can play this, but the idea here is that your ranger is the main carry. So we're going to use Gauntlet, which you'll see when I place it. It's going to be an Omega from the Ranger that shoots a blast that explodes in a small area, and it's going to stack a Mega over time. So the more you cast it, it's going to stack. Plenty of ways to start this, but I've just gone my Flish and the Hydralinks. The Hydralinks, you can see there, just does a AoE gain energy regen to everyone, and later I'll place a start the round with extra energy on the Hydralinks, so that'll kick that off straight away. And sometimes you can get it where he's basically permacasting his energy regen to everyone. This deck you'll also have the 3 water bulwarks, the really cheap ones, so the Atlas, the Grocco, the Caribou. So they're all very cheap, and you gain that 3 bulwark, and you also gain 3 water from it. A lot of the time it might be better to place those down first. I haven't on this matchup. So you can see here I've decided to go the 3 Empath, 5 water start. Most of the time with this team you're trying to just win the later rounds. So this water team actually counters a lot of the other strong decks at the moment. So this Toxic Berserker Colossus deck that I'm playing now is actually one of the other teams that I'll go through. Water does really well against it, as well as the Empath, which is the other team that I'll show. Water also does well against that. The one that I'm not going to go through is Fire. So if you want to counter this water team, Fire does quite well against it. Sometimes Empath does quite well as well, depending how you play it. So overall the game is super balanced at the moment, considering it's the first time players have had their hands on it, other than internally. There's a lot of strong teams out there, but there doesn't seem to be a team that doesn't have a counter to it. So right now I'm working towards having Tsunami on my Ranger. So early game, it's hard to get Tsunami because you want those at least 5 water. Because if you get 2 Tsunami without the water, you're still not generating energy quickly enough. So right here, I've managed to get my Axodon down. I've connected him to my Ranger. With the Ranger Gauntlet, they now have Tsunami. You can play this without Tsunami, where you just wouldn't attach your Ranger to anyone, and you just put the Gauntlet down. He's gaining Scion and Water, and you just play that way. You have 3 Scion instead, which gives everyone a Mega Power, and you just don't play Tsunami. You could also play 3 Tsunami, where you get the Geyser, however you say it, down, and that would give me 3 Tsunami, but I may be lacking either Empath or Water, or Bulwarks. And once you get to this stage where all your Illuvials are down, you're basically just adding those team augments, where it's team HP or team energy, and making sure your Axodon and your Ranger are fully buffed. So I'll place my armor down on my Ranger shortly. Okay, and that's pretty much where your team will end up. Sorry I didn't have the damage meter, maybe I'll end up showing it, but it's basically the Rangers. You can see you just one-shot 2 or 3 of them at the same time. And every time he does that, oh, there's the damage meter. You can see it's basically all the Ranger. But if you come it can be worth having a fire deck to counter this. If you come up against a player that you keep queuing against, take a big ramp fire, which will have instant cast. So you put 2 of those start with the energy augments. You'll instant cast, and it'll just do so much damage. Okay, this is the second team. So maybe you're playing that water team. Someone counters you with fire, then you might actually play this deck, which is Colossus, Toxic Berserker. And this will counter fire quite well. I won't play a full game through, but let's just see the first opening rounds. I played this guy a couple of times this is how I'm countering him. I know he's got a big ramp fire and a lot of other assassins, fire assassins, so I'm playing my first Colossus Illuvial down. This is the bull, I forget his name. And I've attached my ranger to him, and then I've given my ranger the shield, and that gives them both toxic Colossus. So toxic just gives poison to everyone in an area, and that just does true damage over time. Like it's a stacking damage over time that does true damage. Colossus is just a lot of tanky stats, so they get extra HP and resistance. The bull's Omega is an AoE taunt, and he also gives himself thorns. So you can start to see how it counters fire. If fire isn't killing you within the round fire ult, Omega, and you've got the tankiness, that's how you counter it. Second round, I place my Ripe Lance. I actually picked up a Colossus augment on the first augment picking round, and I can place that on him, which is just crazy OP. But it works either way. You don't. Otherwise, I would just stack my Ripe Lance, who's also toxic. I would just stack him with resistance and HP, or HP and HP regen. To make this deck extra tanky, I've have access to 3 cheap Bulwark Earth units, which you can probably see down below. So I have the option to place those 3, and it gives the whole team an Earth and Bulwark buff on top of the Colossus and everything else already. I also like to take the Ape on, which you can see there. So that's Mystic. He's also going to buff. Sometimes you can put him next to your 2 Berserkers, your Monkia and your Ripe Lance, and it's going to stun everyone and also give them a damage buff. It then gives you the option to place the Adorius later. The Adorius I've got in my deck is the 100 cost Mystic. He does a heal, but he's a ranged, so he not only does it give me Mystic if I need it later, it also gives me someone I can place at the back or the corner or the furthest target from, say, a Flish. And I've also added in a ramp fire. Take late game if I'm finding I don't have enough damage to get through their back line or into the back line. I can pop the ramp fire down, buff him up with some pierce and energy on the start of combat. He jumps into the back line and does a whole heap of damage and potentially swings that game where I needed that extra little bit of a damage boost. Finding this helpful at all, please hit the subscribe button and the like button and let me know what you think down below. Okay, the final team is just a variation of an Empath team. So an Empath team, you're just going to take a ton of their T-pos, and then the 2 tanks you're going to play is the 2 I just placed. They're really cheap air Empath units. A lot of people will start placing them down first. Sometimes you can just place the T-pos, and you're basically just putting them in a group, in a ball. So some people play this right at the front of the your board, as far up as you can. But I like to play them in the bottom left-hand corner or right-hand corner, just in case they have a ramp fire, and it's just easier to manage placing them in a corner. So the variation I'm playing here is a wildfire one. So you can see I've taken 2 Atipos with the air because they give attack speed, and that's what I really want on my carry, the Blazer Knight. Sometimes I don't play both, but yeah, their attack speed gets pretty crazy. So I've attached my Ranger to my Blazer Knight, and I've already got Wildfire and Templar. If you copy my build with the link, you'll see how you get that combination. You will have to take a specific Blazer Knight class and affinity combo to get this, because you want the composite of Templar and Wildfire, which you'll need the certain combinations. So your first few rounds are going to be pretty weak depending on who you're up against, but now I can start playing my Empaths. So I played the Air Tipo because, again, he's giving attack speed, and then I've got the Hydralinks that's going to give energy to everyone, just to get the ball rolling, and I've given him an energy boost at the start of combat. So the Blaze Knight is going to do a ton of damage with Templar. Templar just gives extra damage every X amount of attacks. And wildfire, every time you're mega, you're going to give the closest unit a wildfire, which is just damage over time damage, which also that damage has vamp to it, so it heals the wildfire and it spreads as well. And now I've managed to get my 5 empath, and I'm going to put pure damage attack on my Blazer Knight. And then I'm probably going to, yeah, I've decided to put extra resistance on my Blazer Knight because all I want to do is survive that Rampfire Omega. And then it's pretty much game from there. You can play this Empath build with a lot of different carries, so the Scoriox you can imagine would do well. I like the Blazer Knight just because that huge stun that he does is pretty good. But I'm sure there's so many different variations and teams that the community hasn't worked out yet. Day one we all thought that Colossus and Toxic was unbeatable. Then it was the Gauntlet Ranger with water was 2 AP, and now it's Empath is 2 AP. So, like I said, there's going to be counters to everything. So again here I'm just spamming the team gains energy regen and team health. And this probably actually does work better than the getting the Hydra links just to have energy on him and then he casts early, because you can see here just via the team energy augments, the 3 I place down, my Hydra links cast instantly anyway. Just a side note, what this guy's doing isn't too bad, where he's playing on the other side of the board. He could play even further away. That might be one way you could try mess up Empaths, is where you'd play just at the back of the board and it would cause all their Illuvials to chase and get it kind of, it takes them away from that big ball that they want to sit in. You don't have to play the Blotto here. I did, it just gives you 3 wildfire, but I've actually found sometimes it's better just to play more Empaths and not the Blotto, but I thought he would be good at tanking the Rampfire, so I placed him down. So you can see the attack speed there, it's pretty nuts. So those are the 3 teams that you could start with, as well as we also got to see the fire team in action. So there's 4 teams, but I'll link my team builder below, so you could click on those and hopefully that will take you through to basically instantly building these decks, these teams, and just change it. There's by no means am I saying this is the best end variation of these teams, but if you found that helpful, make sure to subscribe and we will see you next time.